Little roller up along first. Behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win it.
A 2-1 pitch. And a drive in the air to deep right field. That ball headed toward the wall. That ball is out of here. Out of here. A game-winning grand slam home run off the bat of Robin Ventura.
Hey. And it's hit deep to left center. Andrew Jones on the run. This one has a chance. Home run! Mike Piazza, and the Mets lead 3-2. High fly ball to left. Back at the wall, and the captain's going deep to the wall.
Turner drives one to center, chasing Nimmo back to the warning track right at the fence. He made the catch! Oh, wow! The catch of the year for Brandon Nimmo! He took a home run away from Justin Turner. Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Episode number 18, the Say Hello podcast. My name is Casey Lynn, and I am joined by my co-host, former Met, Bill Pulsifer, as we are brought to you by roots-recordings.com. Stephen White behind the scenes as our producer. And Bill, before we start on everything, of course, how are you doing?
I'm well today, thank you. How about yourself?
Doing okay. We talked last week. We had a couple of weeks off before then, and it was good to get back into the groove. And here we are a week later, and not much has changed in Metland, which is actually surprising, but there's still a lot to talk about. And we had a lot of good feedback from last week. I just, right off the top of my head, before we get it right into Metland, we had our most views ever on that bonus question. And also about when I asked you other Met players to wear number 21.
that I totally fumbled the ball on.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I think the moral of the story, the more you fumble the ball, the better ratings we get.
Yeah. All right.
Just
I'll try
keep
to
that
say
in.
the most off-the-wall shit I can possibly say today.
Please do.
Right.
This is rated R. So, oh yeah. I guess I'd be remiss if we didn't start with Yamamoto. That he's the talk of the town across the country in Major League Baseball. Right before we got on today, it was pointed out by Bob Clappish, who is a very well-known reporter. Doesn't really say much, but when he does, you take his word for it. Seems as Yamamoto wants to drag this baby out to maybe after Christmas. I don't know, but it's a rumor. But my goodness, make up your mind already. I've never remembered a number one free agent, if you will, dragging this long. Have you?
No. I think that possibly he's doing the opposite of Ohtani, where he's kind of enjoying the whining and dining, if you will, maybe a little bit, enjoying the people wooing him, if you will. And he's wants to enjoy his holidays peacefully with his family before he makes the big decision as to where he's going to be spending a huge part of his professional career, more than likely.
Yeah, I totally get it. You have 45 days after you're posted by your Japanese team, so that's January 4th. Take it. I mean, it's a big decision.
It is a huge decision, obviously.
It's just frustrating. Everything is on hold until he makes that decision. He is that one domino. When it falls, everything else will. Specifically,
what a crazy world we live in, that the guy that's not thrown one pitch in the major leagues is the linchpin to now the off season.
Yeah, I saw a tweet of yours actually that's saying exactly what you just said, that he's never thrown a pitch in Major League Baseball, and he is going to get probably $300 million plus. It's nuts.
Yeah, I have pretty reliable source from a place from a guy where I give lessons here on Long Island. The guy runs a travel ball organization, and Cashman's son plays in that organization. So I know a number that's been put out there, and
Okay.
It's a very high number, and he has not signed yet. So interesting to see. Surprising that this is where we've come, but I guess this is where we are. But it's a high number, and it's for a lot of years.
Yeah. I think, reading everything, and Jeff Passan, by the way, agrees with you. No offers have been finalized to them, whatever team, to his agent. But 200 million it started at, and all 8 big market teams are interested. So we've now gone to 300 million is what we're estimating. But I wanted to get into this. Yamamoto had dinner last Saturday at Steve Cohen's mansion in Greenwich, Connecticut. It was reported the next day, so it wasn't, a big deal to get it leaked out. I took that as a good thing. How could you not? Alex Cohen, Jeremy Hefner, Carlos Mendoza, and of course Steve Cohen with Yamamoto and his agent. Like you said, whining and dining. It was their second meeting. That tells me that obviously they're interested, and it tells me that if Steve Cohen, and tell me if you agree with me, like counsel, Steve didn't want to get used for his money. He's got to be careful with that. It tells me if he had them over as dinner guests, he knows that he's not being used for just financial gain, having him over at his mansion, So I take that meeting on Saturday as a very good thing.
Yeah, I would definitely think that a second meeting over dinner is a positive sign. I will say that the rumor that I heard is from the crosstown team. So I think with the biggest guy going to the left coast, maybe the second biggest guy in the offseason is probably looking for something on the right coast.
Yep.
And it's obviously a good sign that he's met with the owner and the manager and the coaching staff for a second time. And I want to say fingers crossed, but again, I'm a little bit pessimistic for a guy that hasn't thrown a pitch in the major leagues yet. To be seen. I think if you look at some of my tweets as well, there's been quite a few good Japanese pitchers. I don't think there's been a great Japanese pitcher. Nothing against Japanese pitchers, but that's just the facts are the facts. There's been plenty of good guys.
Yeah, I agree.
Borderline very good, but not great. So I still want to see him be great. Maybe, Senga's a little bit older, and Senga's probably in his second year. I would suspect that he might even be better. But that's a lot of glue to be thrown at a guy that hasn't thrown a pitch in the major leagues yet.
Yeah, totally agree. I would say Hideo Nomo really tops that list off the top of my head. Maybe Tanaka with the Yankees. Yeah, in terms of pitching.
Yeah.
Probably forgetting a couple players too, but I look at it as a good thing. Mets are going about it a different way. They're going about the family way, not really the courting with the money so much yet, making it more like, Steve flew out to Japan, had dinner with his family. Now in the second meeting, he had them get as guests at their mansion. It's a little different like what the Dodgers are doing, where they're wooing him with all the star power that they have and, all these weird, power moves. The Mets are doing it more of like, we want you as part of the Met family. And I kind of like that. It's a different approach.
Yeah, absolutely. Different approach. It'd be interesting to see if these teams are going to try to do the whole defer money thing. I would think that the owners is probably going to battle their asses off to try to get that taken care of in the next collective bargaining agreement, or maybe they won't. I don't know. I just think that that contract from Ohtani has changed the landscape quite a bit. So it'll be interesting to see how it pans out with this very big contract.
Yeah, I'll say this before we put a bow on Yamamoto. I really do think, there's 8 teams in, the bigger 8 franchises in terms of cities and payroll, that Steve Cohen's all in. We've seen it by his actions so far. He checks all the boxes for the Mets. He'll top any offer. He just will. I'm 100% sure. It's a matter of Yamamoto wants to turn money down, which you don't really see ever. It's happened before, but it's tough for a guy to turn down an extra $50 million. It just, you never see it. You always see that big free agent, and he's kind of doing it. Go get wined and dine and have all these teams bidding against each other, dragging it out for the most money. Yeah. Who has the most money? Steve Cohen. So I'll be positive and optimistic.
I want to be positive, optimistic too. I want to see him pitch, and not in the Japanese league, in the major leagues. I want to see that.
You're going to see him pitch, and hopefully in a Met uniform, because, in my opinion, could be wrong. It's down to 3 teams: Mets, Yankees, and Dodgers. And Dodgers traded for Glass now. They still are after Yamamoto. But what I hear, and it's pretty fluid, Yamamoto doesn't want to be in the shadow of Ohtani. That's a big thing.
Well, I think that's a good point too. The whole waiting after Christmas and to the New Year possibly is kind of letting you know that he's enjoying the spotlight a little bit, because he knows that the spotlight is on him all right now, and all eyes are on him, and he's kind of holding the hinge as to what the next move is going to be after that. So he's enjoying it. Hey, good for him, man. Great for him.
Yeah.
If he does end up being a Met, I think it would be obviously great to have somebody like Senga, who's already been through this a little bit, to help him through. And it would be great if they could both be frontline starters and anchor a staff that could possibly, for the next 5-10 years, be great pitchers.
Yeah.
That's what we're hoping
for. Ohtani obviously is a star in LA. And if he goes to the Yankees, he's the number 2 behind Garrett Cole. He just is. Cole just won the Cy Young unanimously.
Right.
If he wants to be the man in New York, it's the Mets, and they're going to offer him the most money.
The man thing with the rookie, bro. I don't know. You got to prove to me, man. You got to prove to me. I don't care if you had a 1 or whatever. I mean, I was told that Hideki Irabu was the Nolan Ryan of Japan, and he was not the Nolan Ryan of he was not. So. To be determined, but I understand what you're saying.
Yep, I get your point.
I would say he's the number 2 to Senga until he proves he's the number 1 if he signs.
Yeah, I get it.
Might get more
prove it to me.
But he's the number 2 to Senga if he signs with the Mets, to me.
Let me just say this: there's a reason why 8 teams are after this guy for over $300 million. We'll leave it at that.
Because that's the asking price.
Because they all want him, and it's supply and it's the demand of this guy. So hopefully he's a Met, and hopefully by the time we have our next podcast, we could be talking about him as a Met. And that is a perfect segue into, if they don't get Yamamoto, it has been reported by The Athletic, through the sources that they have, that the Mets are just going to punt 2024.
Ouch.
And that is a big fucking ouch, because after last year, I can't go through that 2 years in a row.
This would be year 3.
Yikes.
This would be year 3 of Cohen. Right?
2021, 22, 24th year.
4th year. And how many years did he say we were going to, before we were World Series bound?
3 to 5.
All right, so we're still in that window, I guess.
Yeah, we are. And
how many people are on the 40-man roster right now? Did we get up above 29 now?
Yeah. Mets just made a trade for cash considerations. A guy on the White Sox, forget his first name, Ramirez, a 4-something ERA. So I think that makes it like 35 or 6, actually.
Okay. All right. So they're getting up there now.
Yeah, but you got to remember, Peterson will go on the 60-day IL, and Mauricio will go on the 60-day IL.
That's
so
right.
They're off the 40-man right there. So, and it's mostly relievers. I mean, I see their approach. They're banking on bounce back years, guys who have had success. They got to fill the bullpen, and they're doing it, strategically. We'll see how it pans out. But if they don't get Yamamoto, it's going to be a punt year. It will. If they get Yamamoto, and you could disagree with me, I think now it's like, I just won a big hand in poker. I'm feeling it. Let's double the blinds. Bring it.
Where do we go next then? Where do you go next?
I think if they get Yamamoto, they get their ace, or their co-ace, if you will. Right. And now they can build a rotation around him with Senga, Severino, and Quintana. And also the endorphins kick in. They've been courting Yamamoto forever. They'd be the winner out of 8 teams.
Right.
You don't fly to Japan if you don't want them. And I think if they get them, they're going to go more all in, if that makes sense. Look for pieces fill a puzzle, if you will, and be contenders. If they don't, we're going to see more mid players, more 1-year deals, and wait for the class of 2025. As a fan, last year was miserable, and then even in 2022, bounced in the wild card round in 3 games. So I said it podcasts ago. I'll say it now. It's still true. Yamamoto or bust.
Yeah,
it really is. It's weird
because Severino still obviously will have a lot to prove.
Oh yeah,
he struggled mightily, and obviously he's dealt with a lot of health issues over the last few years. So you hope for help from him and a big bounce back. Obviously, it's difficult enough it is to pitch at the major league level, let alone to try to pitch when you're not healthy.
And he got, not my money, but if you're going to give Severino a 1-year deal, which is fine, low risk, high reward, but you gave him $13 million. If you're giving him $13 million off of crap last year and 45 starts in the last 5 years,
wow,
you could only imagine what they're going to give Yamamoto, or at least try to.
Well, it's going to be at least 340. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
It's going to be at least 340 because that's the offer from the other side.
Yeah, and that would be. There's only one pitcher that makes over $300 million, Garrett Cole. That would be the richest pitching contract in history.
Insane.
If you don't want to count Ohtani, that's a weird situation. But
insane.
Yeah,
absolutely insane.
It really is. It really is. But I hope the insanity comes to Queens. I'll put it that way.
I hope it comes to Queens, and I hope it's successful.
Well, hopefully we find out.
Yeah. We got to find out one way or the other, that's for sure.
No, find out.
In Queens.
In Queens, exactly.
Right.
I don't want it to be a ghost town at Citi Field. I want to be able to tune in to games where they all matter. Not, oh, crap, we're 10 under already. Who cares?
Yep.
So I really think as crazy as it sounds, it's really on Yamamoto. It's insanity, but it's true. So we shall see, as they say.
Well, hopefully he gets it done sooner rather than later, so all the other pieces can start to fall throughout the rest of the off season, and we can start looking forward to spring training.
Yeah, it's like what Yogi Berra once said: it's getting late early.
It is.
We got a lot of players unsigned, and they're all waiting for that. Like I said before, that chip to fall.
It'll be January before we know it, and that means 6 weeks till pitchers and catchers. And that can go by real quick. Yeah.
And you got the reigning Cy Young Award winner in the NL. Blake Snell waiting. Montgomery waiting. Other guys waiting,
Yeah.
They're okay with that probably because they're.
So if it came down to Snell or Montgomery as a sign, who do you go with there? As a possibility. They would still have spots to fill, I would think, right?
Yeah, of course.
Unless we're giving Lucchesi the ball every 5 days.
That could happen too. My opinion, I could be wrong. I think if they don't get Yamamoto, they're not. I don't think they're getting Snell no matter what. He's a West Coast guy, strong. There's a lot of rumors for him and the Giants, but Giants are in on Yamamoto. Snell, like we've discussed, to me is not that Cy Young feel guy. He's
got 2 more Cy Youngs than Yamamoto does.
Yeah, but the stats. All the walks. He doesn't have a complete game. He never gets out of the 6th inning. You're playing with fire here.
Yeah.
I don't want him for what he'll get. As for Montgomery, he'll get over $130 million, but he's not an ace either. So he would probably be a 2 or a 3. And I don't think the Mets would shell out that money for a Montgomery. I really think they would just wait to 2025 when you have Wheeler and Max Fried, Corbin Burns. The pitching class in the free agency in 2025 is off the charts.
You think Wheeler would want to come back?
If the money's right, he would have if the Mets made the money right. Phillies did. Brody Van Wagenen had that famous quote saying, I forget because I blocked it out of my head because it was so freaking crazy, but, he basically just shitted on Wheeler, and Wheeler's been nothing but great since.
Well, I think that the Mets got got frustrated with how long it took him to come back from the Tommy John surgery. Because I remember he had the issue with the stitches inside, and it took him a long time. And I think they got frustrated, unfortunately, because he's been tremendous. I love watching that guy throw.
Oh, he's
great,
and he's a free agent already. So
Crazy.
That's what I think will happen. I could be
Yeah.
wrong, but they don't get Yamamoto. I don't think they're getting Snell or Montgomery no matter what. You know? So, but there are other. Glasnow's gone. Dodgers.
Unfortunately.
Yep. Great trade for them for if he's healthy. You know, but we'll see. You know, again.
Yep.
Let's move on. A lot
Okay.
of Yamamoto talk. I wanted to play a little fun game with you. We always like to have fun here on the Say Hello podcast. I'll go first, and it's going to be name your favorite 5 all-time favorite Mets in the history of the New York Mets, and not in order. So either you can start or I'll start.
You go ahead. You can start.
Okay. I want to just no order, you know. So I'll just read what I wrote. I think it's a pretty good list, pretty standard. Piazza, got to remember my age and who. Piazza, John Olerud, even though he wasn't here for long. Rico Brogna,
good one.
Love that man. Edgardo Alfonso,
love that guy.
Jacob deGrom.
That's a very good list. Very good list. I'm gonna have a couple. I'm gonna have a couple that are on your list as well.
Okay.
But I'm going to have to go with 386 Mets, and obviously Doc and Straw being my two idols growing up. Keith Hernandez, Edgardo Alfonso, and Jacob deGrom.
Okay.
That would be my 5 favorite Mets of all time.
Yeah, I get it. You grew up idolizing Doc and Darryl, and if I was a little bit older, just missed that era, for sure.
Fully understandable.
Yeah. Rico Brogna actually was my first favorite player ever.
Great teammate, great guy, great dude.
What was it that took him out early? His back, I think it was.
Yeah, I believe so.
Damn.
That and going to the Phillies, right? Didn't he go to the Phillies?
Yeah. Do you know who he got traded? Trivia question, Bill.
I don't. I don't. You know better than me.
It's not a name. It's not a name no one really knows. Toby Borland.
Toby Borland, relief pitcher.
Yes, sir.
Big, tall, lanky righty.
Yep, right-handed, tall, lanky, exactly. Phillies.
Nice guy too, country boy.
Yep.
Nice guy.
Didn't work out for the Mets, but shit happens. And deGrom on this list, I have to because I watched him at his peak in his prime before all the injuries, and I've never seen anything like it.
Be the best ever.
You agree too, and there were times.
He was can't miss television for me, just like Doc was when I was growing up. He was the same thing. If Jake was pitching, I wanted to be in front of the television or at the stadium to watch him throw.
Not many pitchers have that effect. Yeah.
Yeah, not many. But he's he's the silent assassin too. He was so calm demeanor and all that, but he was he's a warrior. And I can't wait to see him come back, even though it's not in a Mets uniform. I think baseball is better when Jacob deGrom is healthy.
Yeah, hopefully he does come back healthy and regains his form and maybe calms it down a little with throwing 100 every pitch.
That's hard to do. I've said for years I would have liked to have seen him learn to develop a curveball a little bit and throw his changeup a little bit more to maybe help relieve some of the stress. But I mean, when you can throw 100 miles an hour, 101 miles an hour on the black away from righties and know that they're not going to touch it, I mean, why not do it?
Yeah, 2-pitch pitcher. That's all he needed.
Yeah,
kind of like Edwin Diaz. Edwin 100 gas wherever you want, and that 93 slider
and a backup slider. I often wonder if Edwin throws that backup slider, which is like a cement mixer. That's what we call it in the game. If he's doing it on purpose, the one that kind of stays on the right side of home plate.
I would think so.
If he's learned how to do that on purpose, is the one that sweeps away to the left. That's a special kind of talent. I'm not sure if he's doing it on purpose or not, but it's the hardest pitch kind of to hit in baseball, but it's one of those pitches that you can't ever really describe how to do it. So I want to say I'd like to think that he's doing it on purpose, but if not, hey, it works. Because him and Jake have the two hardest to hit sliders in the game, most swing and miss sliders in the game. And if you think about Jake's only moves 5, 6, 8 inches tops. It's not like it's a huge sweeper like they say. Which is crazy because you think about the two best sliders in the game for the last 5 years are pitches that are not sweepers. They're not huge breaking pitches. They're just they move just enough and look just enough like a fastball long enough. The guys just can't touch them.
Yeah, I'm happy you brought up Edwin Diaz, actually. Another reason why I'm going to bring up Yamamoto last time. The Mets are getting Edwin Diaz back this year after a whole year of missing him. That's huge. That's your,
Well, it shortens the game.
Yeah, of course.
It shortens the game.
That's they get Yamamoto. You got Diaz. Now maybe you go back to that eighth inning. Whoever it is.
No word on Robertson at all.
Not at all. Nothing at all. I haven't heard his name.
I would hope to think that he feels like there's a little unfinished business, maybe, because I think he would be a good signing.
I don't know shit about shit, and I don't have sources, but I could tell you, my gut tells me he's waiting on the Mets to see what they do if they're going for it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah,
that makes sense.
He'll be the eighth inning guy with Diaz, just like 2022.
Makes sense.
Or not 2022, but what was supposed to be 2023.
Right. Right.
So, yeah, good list right there. We shared a couple of the same guys, Fonzie and DeGrom. I want to move on. I had this I have a thing for catchers, admiration, if you will, that catchers have, in my opinion, the toughest job out of all 9 on the field.
Yeah.
You get it. Every pitch, everything.
Very difficult position.
And so when you take in that defense, offense, I wrote down what I think are the best catchers ever. And if I'm forgetting anybody, let me know. And also tell me if you agree and tell me what you think about these guys.
All right. Lay it on me.
Not in order. Just wrote them down.
Gotcha.
Piazza, Yogi Berra, Johnny Bench, Pudge Rodriguez, Gary Carter, Buster Posey, Roy Campanella, and Yadi Molina.
I mean, obviously, it's a tremendous list.
Yes.
A couple of the guys are a little too young for either one of us to see play.
Right.
But anybody how many World Series did Yogi win? 8? 8 in a row? Did he win 10? He won a bundle.
8 or more. It could be 11. It's absurd.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
So obviously, absolutely, that's a great list. Did you say Carlton Fisk?
Actually, no. I knew I forgot someone. I did not put Fisk down.
Up there as well.
Yeah.
This is one thing about Mike. I played with Mike. I've never seen anybody hit the ball harder in person. Mike was a tremendous hitter. Mike was not the best defensive catcher, but nobody tried harder to be good at it than Mike. Mike gave the absolute most he possibly could behind the dish, as well as even if he hit like a chopper to the third baseman. Yeah. He sprinted his ass off to first base. So you got to tip your cap to that. Obviously, recent times, Yadier Molina has become wasn't only just the best defensive catcher, but he turned himself into a very good offensive player.
Yeah.
Gary Carter, obviously for leadership, I would totally agree with that. I mean, his offensive numbers aren't off the charts. Like if you want to put him up against a guy like Pudge, Pudge Rodriguez. I played against Pudge. I played against him in winter ball. Obviously a tremendous hitter, another Hall of Famer. I think that's a great list. Lay it on me one more time. See if I can think anybody else.
Piazza, Yogi, Bench, Pudge, Carter, Posey, Roy Campanella, Yadi Molina, and I forgot Fisk.
I think it would hard to argue. Fun to watch. Maybe not one of the greatest of all time, but Benito Santiago was fun to watch back there.
Throwing from his knees.
Tony Pena, not necessarily one of the best of all time, but another one that you really enjoyed watching him work behind the dish as a defensive specialist. Maybe not greatest of all time on that list, but still fun to watch play, fun to watch the position.
Joe Mauer could be on this list. I know he moved to first base, but he was a catcher for the Twins for a long ass time, and he probably will make the Hall of Fame, whether it's this year or the year after.
Yeah.
But going back to what you were talking about with Piazza, obviously I didn't get to play with him like you, but I watched him every day. Yep. I've never seen right field power from a right-handed batter like anyone like Piazza. It was unbelievable.
He would almost hit the ball out of the catcher's mitt. He would wait so long on those pitches. Remember the one he hit?
Yes.
It was a ground ball pretty much to second base. The next thing you know, it's hitting the wall in right field because he hits the ball so damn hard.
Right,
But,
right through the gap. Yep.
Yeah. I always remember being in San Francisco in 2000 and him taking batting practice. And I don't know if you know the stadium there very well, but there's a huge glove
Oh,
up
yeah,
in
left field.
Yeah. And him hitting the ball up into
Oh,
the glove in batting practice. Now, him and, to be honest with you, another name, forgot, him and Jeremy Burnitz were the two hit the ball, the backside of the baseball in batting practice, the hardest of anybody that I ever played with. They were scary to be around the infield during batting
left-handed,
practice when they were
big power. Yeah.
Yep. When they were in the batting cage, make sure you
Oh, yeah.
back up a little bit because you don't want to be standing around the infield as a pitcher because you know you're not a shortstop and those guys are going to be waffling the ball.
Piazza was the one player for me. It was you can't miss an at bat when he was up because you might miss something, whatever it might be. That gap.
That's kind of how I felt with Daryl as a kid. So I mean, obviously you were young when Mike was playing. That was kind of the same kind of thing. If you might miss something you've never seen before, if you miss that at bat, so you might want to make sure you're around the television or you're sitting down in your seat when those guys are coming to the dish.
A lot of his game-winning home runs or tying ones to right field. Billy Wagner comes to mind. Trevor Hoffman. He took Mo deep. That was to left field. But, I mean, my God. One thing about Piazza, and then we'll move on. Did you ever notice this? Not many people do, but I did because I literally watched every at-bat, I feel like. I had no life back then. But and I'm okay in saying that. Piazza, not all the time, but sometimes, it's very subtle, he would do this with his jersey when he was in the right-handed batter's box. And every time, not 100%, but a good high percentage, let's say 70, every time he did this, he hit a home run.
Really?
Yeah. So when he did that, whenever it was, not every at-bat, not every game, but I looked for it. The 8 years he was with the Mets, it was incredible. He would go like that, just, with the jersey, tug on it.
Yeah.
Pitch comes in, bam, home run.
I do remember him doing that. And you know what I always thought he was doing? I thought he was like moving his chain into his jersey. That's what I thought.
Well, I don't remember him wearing a chain.
Hanging out or something. He's just kind of pulling it back into his jersey.
It wasn't a chain. It was, I don't know what it was, but it worked. I don't even know if he's aware. He
might not be.
Yeah, crazy. But
it's cool you picked that up.
Yeah, it was so cool. It was like, home run coming.
Right.
So that's actually another perfect segue to another fun game we're going to play. Mets Twitter actually just did this, which I was going to do it before. So great minds think alike,
yes.
I guess. They did this on their Twitter. Best duos in Mets history. So basically, teammates at the same time, two players.
Mm-hmm.
You can go first on this one. I already know the answer, so
I'll give you more than one. How about that?
That's what I was going to ask for. So you tell everybody you're number one.
The obvious Doc and Straw, obviously.
Yep. Right.
And then I'm going to go with man. See, this is the thing is I'm sure there's somebody that I could go with early years, but we're going to go more recent because I know that better. And I'm going to say David Wright and Jose Reyes.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, you can't go. Yeah, came up together, had great careers together.
Mets, they were Mets too.
Yeah.
Came up as Mets. Those were Mets.
Yeah,
so, I like that. Wright and Reyes.
Reyes left the Mets right when Wright kind of got hurt, so they were connected the same time with the Mets and had great careers for as long as they were with the Mets. So I like that. Can't go wrong, and I can't help but just think of 2006.
Seaver?
Yeah, of course.
Seaver. There's my three.
Okay. Can't go wrong with those at all. I like Seaver and Kuzman. That 1-2 punch was deadly,
Absolutely.
For me, I think it's pretty obvious. Piazza and Fonzie would be mine. Piazza for everything we just talked about, and I've talked about it before. Edgardo Alfonso is such an underrated clutch player. And a hell of a freaking fielder, both at third base and second base.
Tremendous baseball player. He's a ball player, 100%. One of my favorites. One of my favorites always.
Yeah. And he moved to second base when he had to for Ventura, moved to third base for Kaz Matsui, or whatever the hell it was, or was that, or I don't know. He was a team player, clutch.
I mean, he came up as a shortstop. I told you
Yeah.
the story about Ray when Isringhausen got called to Double A, and he said, "Hey, there's a shortstop down here at A-ball." Right. And he's like, he's incredible. I'm like, come on, man. Alfonso's great, because I had played with Alfonso every year through the minor leagues.
Right.
And that's when Fonzie first made the first move, was when Ray came up to play shortstop, and then they kind of moved to the big leagues together.
Yeah.
And then it's funny, I actually just found an old photo of mine, and I want to say it might even been my first start. I don't even know, but it's from the first base dugout, and I'm in the middle of my delivery, and standing over my right shoulder, standing at third base, was Edgardo. So that's I put it up on my fridge as soon as I found it. I found it in a closet the other day, and I'm like, man, those were the days. So I got to make sure I put it up on the fridge.
We went over this early. Let me just do the infield. Your first start was against the Astros, right?
Yep.
Third base Fonzie, shortstop Ray Ordonez.
No, he wasn't up yet.
Hold on, I'll get it. Vizcaíno?
Jose Vizcaíno.
Okay. Jeff Kent at second.
Yep. And your guy at first.
Rico at first.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. And I guess Todd behind the plate.
Nope. Yes, Todd caught my first game, but then Todd got injured shortly after that, and actually Kelly Stinnett caught me quite a bit. My rookie year. But yep, that was the infield.
Yeah. Hell of an infield, actually. Not too bad.
Not too shabby.
Yeah. Even though Vizcaíno went on to the Yankees and killed the Mets in the World Series in Game 1, I think it was.
Yes, he did.
All right. So that's my duo, but for the fun of it, if I had to go another one, I can't use any of yours. That's no fun.
Ooh, that makes it tough.
People are going to hate me for this. I don't even like it. No. I'll tell you what I was thinking, but I'm not using it.
Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander.
God, no. No, Scherzer was here. Verlander was here for a minute.
I know. I'm busting your chops.
Yeah, I know. You love busting my chops with Scherzer. Who's out till July with a herniated disc.
Well, now here we go again. So more stuff's coming out why this guy couldn't pitch.
It's amazing.
That didn't just happen yesterday picking up groceries.
No, he was.
Anyway, let's hear your other two. I want to hear.
I was going to say Pete Alonso and Lindor, but no.
Not yet.
Not yet. Pete's got to, resign and all that. I'm thinking. Okay. This is a good one.
All right.
I was in love with that 06 team, and I'll never get over that year. Best team that didn't win. Delgado and Beltran.
Very good.
I like
that.
Very,
very good.
Okay.
Yep, very good.
Let's see. I think that will wrap up the fun games for today. Let's go to the mailbag, shall we?
We shall.
Okay. We are shalling. We'll start with your boy, NYMGI, Bill. And by the way, please, we always ask if you have questions for Bill or myself. We always put it out there on Twitter, Shay_hello. If you have any questions for Bill or myself, MLB Mets related, please, write them and we read them live on the air, just like we are right now. So NYMGI, he writes, Bill, when you got traded, just wondering, who tells you? Is it like what they did in Moneyball?
The general manager. You'll get a phone call from the general manager, or if it happens while you're at the park, you'll get called into the office, and probably the manager will be there as well as the general manager.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Moneyball, I just remember GM didn't want to do it, Brad Pitt in Moneyball, so that was Billy Beane. Art House. Yeah. Billy Beane was the GM,
right,
played by Brad Pitt. He had Paul DiPodestra, who's played by Jonah Hill. Yes. Do it. So he did his dirty work in the movie when they traded Jeremy Giambi, I believe.
Yes. Okay.
So, every team's different, but I guess NYMGI was wondering how it went down for what you saw and for you.
Yeah.
Good question.
General manager. Yep.
Jimmy Lags. Bill, I enjoyed the segment last week about your number 21 on the Mets. So did I, by the way. What is your favorite number, and how come, and where did it originate from?
Well, we've talked about this before, and it's number 21. I was lucky enough to wear my favorite number in the major leagues, which was special. I grew up I always saw the numbers 1221, and I still do to this day, 1221. And like I've told you, my father's birthday, which is coming up, and may he rest in peace, was just 1221. My father remarried. My stepsister's birthday was 1221.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my buddy, my best friend here on Long Island, his wife's birthday is 1221. My license plate number, the four numbers are 621216.
Okay.
So 21 has always been my favorite number. How did it come about? I think I said this before too. As a freshman in high school, I wore number 19. Somehow lost the jersey. But by the time that the season ended and we had to turn jerseys in, my sophomore year, I was given 21, and that's when 21 became my number. But like I said, prior to that, if you look at the clock at random times during the day, 21 will be in there.
Yeah.
I see 1, 2, 3, 4, which is 1221. If you take the numbers and put them all together, so that's always been my favorite number. I was very, very lucky to be able to say, and I think I told you the story too about Segui. In '94 during the strike, Dallas Green came up to Binghamton to watch the playoffs, and he said, Bill, you're gonna have to change your number when you get called up, because I was wearing 46, because in the minor leagues the numbers just went from 1 to whatever the highest number was according to size.
Right.
So obviously I wasn't wearing number 1 as a bigger guy, so I wore 46. And I said, Dallas, I have no problem changing numbers as long as you trade David Segui. And David Segui got traded, and 2 days later I got called to the big leagues, and 21 was in my locker.
Bill's making moves, man. Wow.
Well, I was cocky.
Yeah. I mean, they literally traded David Segui.
Well, I don't know if they did that for my number, but they literally did trade David Segui, and I got my number. So
I mean, we know that.
Whether it be a coincidence or whether I was making moves, it doesn't matter. Once again, I was very lucky to be able to put my number on and wear the number that was my, your number. I feel bad for some of these Yankee kids that are coming up nowadays that have 87 and 96 and all that. It looks silly. It looks silly.
Everything's retired. Yeah. Well, we'll pretend that it wasn't a coincidence. You made moves.
We made it happen.
Cocky Bill, younger Bill.
Right.
He got shit done.
That's it.
We'll move on to one more. Mason. He asked, Bill, I've struggled with my mental health, and I saw you throw out the first pitch at Citi Field on Mental Health Awareness Day, and talked about it in an interview on SNY. What advice would you give to someone who is battling? Thank you.
Well, I mean, first off, I would always say never give up, never give up the fight, and knowing that these things are moments in time, knowing that they will pass. If it's anxiety, if it's depression, it could be just a moment in time to know that this is your serotonin levels telling you that there's an issue. Obviously seeking help, whether from a professional, from friends, from family, whatever it may be, to try to get you through those tough times, because we all do go through those. Obviously, some people go through them at a higher level, and it's obviously more difficult for those people. But obviously, with medicine or with therapy, there are ways to get around it. But I think the biggest two things that I would say is don't ever give up the fight, and to know that it's a moment in time, and moments in time do pass, and you can, if you keep fighting, get through those moments and continue to strive for better things, and don't ever give up, man. Just don't ever give up.
Well said. So thank you for that. Thank you for the question, Mason. Thank you for everyone that wrote in. And don't forget, every podcast, we do the mailbag, just like we did. Send it in. We put it out there with Shay_hello, and we'll read it live. So thanks for answering, Bill. And we will go to one of our favorite segments, Quick Pitches. And if you're familiar with the podcast, we have some regular listeners who are very familiar. Quick Pitches. I asked Bill 3 questions. He doesn't know what's coming, and they're off the wall. It doesn't have to do with baseball. Ready, Bill?
I'm ready.
What is something that's true to you, but nobody agrees with you on it?
Nobody agrees with me?
Let's say most people don't.
Okay. That we are a hybrid between a humanoid that was on this planet and something from another planet somewhere else in the universe that came down here and created us. And that's the missing link.
Okay. I got to think.
Most people don't agree with that. That's true to me.
Can you say that one more time? Because that's
that we are a hybrid of a being from another planet, whether it be outside of our solar system, more than likely outside of our solar system, that came here and created us with humanoids. And if you look through history, the Anunnaki and the Nephilim, we can go into a lot of different stuff. I mean, if you want to talk about angels, where did they come from? They came from the sky. Where did, the gods were on mountains in the sky. I believe that. I truly believe that. And I don't think a lot of people agree with that, but that's to each their own, and you can believe what you want to believe. So I believe that we are created from another being, from another place that came down here, and there were many, many hominids on this planet. And that's your missing link as to what happened between hominids and human beings.
Okay. You answered the question. Second question.
I'm sticking with it too.
Yeah,
no matter what.
That's exactly what the question is, and damn, you're sticking with it. Number 2, if you could meet anyone in the world today, who would you meet? Want to meet?
If I can, that's alive right now.
Yeah.
Man.
Anybody.
Oh, that's a real tough question, to be honest with you.
Good. We could come back to it. I know.
Go to the next one and give me a second. Go to the next one.
Okay. Number 3, what are those things you're too old to do, but you still enjoy to do them?
Video games. I mean, I'm 50, but I play Warzone basically on a daily basis. I enjoy video games. That's my pastime when I'm not working, or if I'm, because I work nights a lot. So on the nights that I'm not working, usually my family, my kids are, they're older now, so they're either out or they're in bed. My wife's in bed, and I play a lot of Call of Duty. I play a lot of Warzone.
Okay.
And my person, I would say Elon Musk, because I got to know if this guy's really that smart or not, because sometimes he seems like it, and other times he seems like maybe the ketamine is eating his brain.
That's okay. That's definitely a name.
I'd like to sit down and really have a conversation with this guy, and whether he's talking or whether I'm asking questions. I think that would be an interesting one.
I like that. Richest man on earth, and is wacky.
A little bit out there. And hey, look, I'm a little bit out there too. I'm not the richest man on earth, but I'm a little bit out there too. But I feel like I'm a pretty good judge of people, and I'd like to sit down and kind of pick his brain a little bit.
I like that answer.
Maybe he'd be picking my brain. I don't know. Maybe he'd be playing me. There's another guy actually that believes in extraterrestrial beings and other, interstellar travel. So I think that would be interesting.
Yeah. Okay. I like that answer. I do. Wasn't expecting it, and I actually do like it. I got a bonus question for you.
Do it.
We're going to do what we did last time. This is episode 18. Darryl Strawberry, obviously 18.
Yep.
Having it retired 2024. We don't know the date yet.
Okay.
Same as last time. This is hard. How many number 18s of Mets history can you name?
I have no idea. I wouldn't even know where to begin.
Okay. Well,
I have no idea.
All right. I'm not trying to stump you, but there's one guy on this list that you've brought up on the podcast that played around your time that wore 18, pitcher. And we talked about him.
What did Bobby Jones wear? Right-handed Bobby Jones. What did he wear? He wasn't 18.
28, I think.
Yes, 28. You're right.
18
was a pitcher. Brett Saberhagen.
Boom. Yep. Okay. Yeah. He Saberhagen had it for a couple of years, and it was right around your time.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm just going to read off. Strawberry had it forever, 83 to 90. Quick story. Remember the name Duffy Dyer?
Absolutely. I see Duffy every year at fantasy camp. That was his number.
18, yeah.
Wow.
Backup catcher for the 69 Mets.
Yes.
Funny story on my end. When I was like 13, 12, whatever, there was an outing, and I got lucky, and a friend invited me for the 69 Mets. And they were all there. And Duffy Dyer was the first 69 Met that I met. And I'll just remember that because I had no idea who he was.
Was he gruff or did he crack a joke? Which one? Because it's one or the other with Duffy.
I enjoyed he was definitely cracking jokes.
Okay,
I remember
Duffy definitely has a good sense of humor, but Duffy can get a little gruff sometimes too, as we all can.
Yeah. And by the way, speaking of catchers this whole time I'm drinking out of this mug, and we talked about Mike Piazza.
Is that
This
who it
is it's dugout mugs. Look it up, and it's Mike Piazza model with his autograph,
Right.
engraved in it. It's a dugout. It's made out of real wood,
Yeah.
and it's good for drinks. And this one's Mike Piazza. So
That's pretty cool.
I'll just read off a couple more names, and you're going to be like,
Of course.
Joel Youngblood. He had it for a while.
Yeah, Joel was actually a coach of mine with the Brewers.
Okay.
And then he was at fantasy camp 3 years ago. He did do fantasy camp with us.
Okay.
So I know Joel. Good guy. Real good guy.
Yeah, he wore it 77 to 82. So
Okay.
I guess what do they call that? The dark ages for the Mets? Or,
Is that what it was? Oh, geez.
Yeah. Yeah. And then a couple other names. So we went Saberhagen, Darryl Hamilton.
Okay. I played with Darryl Hamilton in Milwaukee as well.
Yeah. And a couple of the next names, I think you played with all of them. Craig Paquette.
I know the name, but I did not play with him, I don't believe. I did. What year was that? It might have been one of the years that I was kind of up and down and back and forth.
It was right. I think it was in 98 or 99.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yes.
Jeff McKnight. No? Right around that. He was, a no name, if you will,
But a little bit before my time, I believe.
Okay. Takashi Kashiwada.
I did not play with. Say the name again. Takashi.
He was a pitcher. Takashi Kashiwada. Japanese pitcher.
Yeah. Did he come over in like 2000? Was that his?
Yes, around there.
So. Yeah, I think I was in spring training with him and then played briefly with him before I got traded to the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, because I wrote this in order. So, yeah. And then you got Marlon Anderson.
Okay.
Loved him.
Who was a Philly as well, right, Marlon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And had a good career with the Mets. Very good. Inside the park, home run. I remember I was there. Very clutch with the Mets.
Cool.
Got a big suspension for PEDs, but it happens, I guess.
Yeah.
Here's a name. He only played 2 years with the Mets, but damn, he was good. Moises Alou.
Oh, yeah, well, absolutely.
My goodness.
Yeah, he's a tremendous player.
You know the big thing with him and what, his bare hands, like what he did with that.
I do know that.
You want to tell the audience?
He used to pee on them to make them hard. Because he hit with no batting gloves.
It worked.
And it helped with the calluses. Yes.
Yeah.
They say that you could use pickle juice too, but I don't know. You know what else they used to tell us with because in spring training a lot of the time, and this is back in the day, you would get athlete's foot during spring training.
Yeah.
From wearing your sanitary socks, and you wouldn't, you'd be out there running around for hours and hours and hours. They would tell us to pee on your feet as well, believe it or not, and that would kill athlete's foot.
Well,
so obviously urine has some positive effects.
Alou did it. It
for
worked.
Baseball players.
Yeah,
and maybe soldiers.
Yeah, it's weird, but
hey,
for whatever reason,
you do whatever works, man.
Yeah, I always go back to the movie Major League with Eddie Harris and Rick Vaughn.
You put Vaughn on the ball.
He's like, exactly. He's like, I don't got an arm like your kid. You kid. I got find anything I can.
That's right.
So,
absolutely.
What was the craziest thing you ever put on your whatever hand or to get more to anything to help you?
Well, look, I mean, obviously there was a lot of craziest thing that people wouldn't know about. It would be like the firm grip that golfers use to put on their grips of their golf clubs.
Okay,
we would use that. We would use, and most of mine really, and this was before the whole spider tack thing came out. It was more about just trying to stop sweating because I was a sweaty guy. My arms sweat, my hands sweat quite a bit. So shaving cream and alcohol, suntan lotion and alcohol.
Yep.
I would cover myself. I think about it nowadays. I'm like, and there was quite a few games actually during the summer this year where it was only like in the 80s where I was watching games, and those were the games where it was like 13 walks and all that.
Uh-huh.
And those were games where I'm like, so MLB, this is the reason why guys put stuff on their pants, on their arms. And I think that it didn't really start as I can make the ball spin more thing. I think it turned into that over years. But, the firm grip, the shaving cream and alcohol, the suntan lotion and alcohol. I know guys used to put hair gel in their hair.
Uh-huh.
So when you get a little sweaty and you get a little bit of
go to your hair
grip. But those were the things that most guys used. I used to have actually a little cup that I would sit in the dugout that had rubbing alcohol in it, and then a rosin bag sitting next to it. So I could do a little bit of rosin, do a little bit of alcohol, and it would make a nice. I didn't play in the days of the spider tack and that, which was obviously, it was originally made for lifting the Atlas stones, which is like the world's strongest man. I don't know if you've ever watched it, the big, huge globes,
right,
that get heavier and heavier. That's what that was originally made for. And they would rub it all over their arms so they wouldn't slip through their arms. And somebody figured out in baseball that it helped get a grip on the ball, and lo and behold, it obviously the better you can grip the ball, the better you can spin the ball.
Yep. I totally agree. I see how it transformed from, like you were saying, just to get a grip because you sweat a lot.
I'm sweating.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it turned into spinning the ball.
Absolutely. So I never got to where that was, but I think back to towards the end of my career, and I remember I had a really bad blister on a finger one day, and I was taping it up, and I was putting super glue on it, and then filing the super glue to try to hold the blister together. And the super glue itself, when you filed it, kind of turned into like a slick feeling. And I remember putting pine tar and rosin together on the back and just rubbing my hand on it. And I do think back to that. I'm like, man, those nights were nights that I had like really, really good cutters and that. So I never really thought about it at the time, but now looking back, obviously that's what was going on.
Yeah, okay. That's all. I get it all.
To me, in my eyes, make it even. Take the pine tar and the rosin away from the hitters, and we can all play even then. They're just trying to get a grip on the bat. I'm just trying to get a grip on the ball.
You can make that case. You're right. Even playing field.
Yep.
Just to finish the list, Travis d'Arnaud wore it for a couple of years with the Mets. And it looks like the last player that will ever wear number 18, Nick Plummer, 2022, if you remember that name. Didn't last long. Had a big home run in 2022 against the Phillies.
Okay.
And he will be the last player to wear it because it's going up in the rafters.
So he can always say his number's retired by the New York Mets.
Yes, he can. And everyone else, yeah. So, good, weird, good list, mix of players all over the place.
Yep.
That's going to do it. Time flies when you're having fun, like we always do.
Absolutely.
I want to thank Stephen White, our producer behind the scenes, brought to you by roots-recordings.com. I want to thank everybody who was watching and listening on our YouTube channel, which is Say Hello Media on YouTube. Please subscribe and leave a comment. We'll answer. And if you're listening on Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever you get your podcasts, give us a follow. We're everywhere. And I want to thank everybody for listening. We did about an hour today or so. I feel like we could go hours, but podcasts are not meant for that. So another good episode in the books. Any last words, Mr. Pulsifer?
Thank you, Casey. Thank you, Steve. Thanks. I appreciate the questions every week from the guys that send the questions in. I enjoy answering them, and hopefully everybody's enjoying the show.
Absolutely, and hopefully we get an answer on Mr. Yamamoto.
Yes.
By the next time we shall talk. So again, thanks for everybody who was listening and watching. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Steve, behind the scenes, and have a great rest of your day, everybody. This has been the Say Hello Podcast.